I've never believed that one's life can completely fall apart in a single moment. Until that afternoon, when I came home early from work and saw the scene in the underground garage. A brand new BMW X7 was parked next to my exclusive parking space. The car window was half open, and there were ambiguous gasps from inside. I was about to turn around and leave when I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure in my afterglow. That's my wife, Sophia. She's wearing the champagne-colored dress I bought for her on my way out the door this morning, and right now she's entangled with a strange man. The man was wearing the tight tank top that was standard for fitness instructors, and his muscular arm was wrapped around her waist. My brain almost stopped working at that moment. With trembling fingers, he pulled out his cell phone, turned on the video function, and aimed it at the car. I need proof. I need the truth. Suddenly, Sophia jerked her head around as if sensing something. Her face was still flushed with lust, and her pupils contracted violently the moment she saw it was me. "Hubby?" She pushed the man away in a panic and hastily straightened her messy skirt. Instead, the man got out of the car unperturbed and walked toward me. He looked to be in his early 30s, fit and with a contemptuous smile on his face. "This is your husband?" I was staring at the screen of my cell phone dead on, making sure every detail was recorded. Delete. The man had walked up to me and looked at me condescendingly. "Delete the video and I'll pretend nothing happened. Otherwise." He turns toward the trunk of the car and pulls out a baseball bat, and you know what happens. Sophia got out of the car at this time and rushed over to me and pulled my arm. "Hubby, listen to my explanation. There is a misunderstanding here." "Misunderstanding?" I sneered. "We've been married for 5 years and this is how you repay me? What's the point of posting this video?" The man shakes the baseball bat in his hand and wants everyone to know he's a loser. I took a deep breath and looked at them. "Threaten me? Do you know what kind of behavior that is? It's called coercion. We're in the garage now. There's surveillance everywhere. What you all are doing right now constitutes a criminal offense. If you guys leave now, I can forget about it." The man froze, obviously not expecting me to say that. But he quickly showed a disdainful expression again. No wonder Sophia said you're useless. You just know how to play smart." "Bitch!" Sophia suddenly screamed. "How dare you threaten me? You scum. I was blind to marry a loser like you." Her hysteria took me a little by surprise. The once gentle and virtuous wife seemed like a different person at the moment. I ignored their shouting and turned toward my car. The man's arrogant voice came from behind him. "Wait for it, I'll make you look good." It wasn't until I got in the car that I realized my hands had been shaking. In the rearview mirror, my face went pale. 5 years of relationships that fell apart in this moment. I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. Since they dared to threaten me, they must have bigger plans. I need to keep investigating. When I got home, the first thing I did was turn on my computer. I've trusted Sophia over the years and have never checked our joint account. Now it's time to take a good look. After logging into my internet banking, the dense transfer records made me black out. Nearly $500,000 has disappeared into thin air in the past 6 months. The transfers were all made to the same account number, and the notes stated fitness fees. I grimaced. That's a hell of a gym fee. Keep scrolling down and more unusual expenses surface. Designer bags, high-end cosmetics, luxury watches. Each one is worth a lot of money. I'm afraid all this money adds up to more than $2 million. This is all my hard-earned money. She ended up secretly transferring it to keep a lover. I stood up and paced back and forth across the room. After gradually calming down, the anomalies of the past began to come to mind. She suddenly became obsessed with working out and went several times a week. She started traveling frequently, saying she was with a client. Her clothing became more and more gaudy and her makeup style became heavily colored. What's ironic is that she is getting colder and colder towards me. I work late and come home late, and she doesn't even ask. I had a surprise for her for my birthday, and she said she had to be with a client and just stood me up. Turns out it was all an illusion. My wife of 5 years, whom I loved dearly, had betrayed the marriage long before I could see it. The phone suddenly vibrated. It was a text message from an unfamiliar number. If you know what's good for you, delete the video. Otherwise, you will regret it. I sneered and simply hacked the number. Since they dared to threaten me so blatantly, it must not be that simple. I called a couple of private investigators and arranged for them to follow Sophia and the fitness instructor's every move. At the same time, I started searching for that fitness trainer online. Soon the first survey was sent. The man's name is Victor, and he's a personal trainer at an upscale gym. He specializes in hooking up with rich women in clubs and scamming them for money and affection. A number of his victims have been scammed out of their homes. I continued to look through the report when I suddenly saw a familiar name, Linda. The name is all too familiar to me. She was a longtime client of our company who suddenly jumped to her death last year. The suicide note she left at the time said it was because of a failed investment, but now I'm afraid there's something else going on. The report shows that one of the last transfers out of Linda's life was to Victor. This man is simply a complete and utter liar. And my wife, right now, is in his trap. No, maybe she's not a victim at all. Perhaps she is the accomplice. My heart suddenly sank at the thought. If they join forces against me, things will be in trouble. I have to keep investigating. Over the next few days, I began secretly following Sophia's every move. She seemed to have forgotten about the incident in the garage and continued to live her life every day. I left the house at 9 in the morning and said I was going to work at the office. But the private investigator's report showed that she had never even been to the office. Victor, gently. Her chirpy voice came from the locker room of the gym. I hid behind a locker and watched it all through a crack. Baby, that loser of a husband of yours doesn't deserve you at all, Victor said as he kissed her neck. When our plan succeeds, you'll be free. Sophia pushed him away. What about the video? Don't worry, I've got someone to look into it. Victor sneered. Your husband is a loser. He just knows to stay in the company every day to work on his shitty business. If not for the fact that your father gave him all the shares when he was alive, you should have taken over the company a long time ago. That's why we have to be more careful. Sophia tidied up her hair. When the time is right, we will act according to the plan. By then, not only the company, but even the house will be ours. Don't worry, baby. I know people who will take care of it for us very cleanly. Victor put his arm around her waist and just say that he is too stressed out from work and has mental problems. Then find a chance to make him disappear forever. It's for the best. Sophia smiled. I don't want to be chained to him for the rest of my life. I clenched my fists and fought the urge to storm out. I didn't realize they didn't just want to take my company, they wanted me dead. Damn this pair of dogs. When I got home, I immediately called my attorney and asked him to prepare the divorce papers. At the same time, I started working on Victor's background. Soon, more black material surfaced. This Victor, it turns out, is no serious fitness instructor at all. He's got a lot of priors: fraud, extortion, assault with intent. He was even suspected of a murder case and was only released for lack of evidence. What surprises me most is that he actually has a brother who is serving a prison sentence and is a famous local gang leader. Looks like they're ready to play for real this time. But that's okay. Since you guys want to play, I'll have a good time with you. I pulled out my cell phone and started calling a few old friends. Since we're going to get revenge, we're going to do it right. Let's show you guys how scary it really is to know that I'm a loser. Honey, have you been looking into something lately? A few days later, at dinner in the evening, Sophia asked out of the blue. She was wearing a silk nightgown, and her whole body looked pathetic. If I hadn't heard for myself that she was trying to harm me, I would have almost believed her this way. No, why do you ask? I decided to hold back for a while and made like I no longer cared about her earlier cheating. Putting down his chopsticks, he looked at her in mock confusion. Nothing. She lowered her head. It just seems like you've been preoccupied lately. There are more things at work. I smiled and said, by the way, the company's cash flow has been a bit tight lately. Can you transfer some of the money in our joint account to me first? Her hands visibly trembled. I just recently purchased some funds, and I'm not too comfortable accessing them. I keep smiling. How's your investment going? Not bad. She was a little flustered. Let's wait for a while. I didn't pursue it further and moved on to other topics. But I noticed that her back was drenched in cold sweat. After dinner, she took the initiative to clean up the dishes and made me a cup of coffee. Watching her go about her business was suddenly a little strange to me. This woman, is she still the wife I once loved? At that moment, the cell phone vibrated. It's the latest findings sent in by a private investigator. Turns out Victor has moved on. He's got a couple of thugs ready to cause an accident while I'm off duty. Sophia, on the other hand, was responsible for forging my suicide note afterward. What a great chain of events. I put my phone down and took a sip of my coffee as if nothing had happened. Sophia was still busy in the kitchen, sneaking glances at me every now and then. You guys want to play, right? Then I'll play with you to the end. Over the next few days, I began to prepare in earnest. First of all, an all-encompassing surveillance system was installed: living room, bedroom, study. Every corner was left untouched. Also, I installed a GPS locator and a car recorder in the car. Then there is the collection of evidence. I got a tech savant to recover the deleted messages and call logs from Sophia's phone. At the same time, I had my attorney pull the bank transfer details. Most importantly, I started secretly investigating Victor for evidence of his crimes. Through some special channels, I found a few victims who were scammed by him. This includes the family of the late Linda. Victor? Linda's son gritted his teeth and said, "That's the bastard that killed my mom." Can you be more specific? I handed him a cigarette. Linda's son took a deep drag on his cigarette, a look of pain in his eyes. At that time, Victor pretended to be in love at first sight with my mom and offered his services every day. My mom had just lost my dad not long ago and was impressed by his sweet words. He stubbed out his cigarette, and later he said he wanted to go into business with my mom, swindling her out of most of her savings. By the time my mom realized she had been duped, he had long since disappeared without a trace. The most hateful thing is that he not only cheated money, but also took my mom's private video to blackmail her. My mom just couldn't take the blow, and that's why His voice choked as he said this. I silently jotted down this information. It seems Victor has used this tactic not once or twice. Do you have any proof? I asked. There is. He took a flash drive out of the drawer, which is evidence my mom left behind before she was born. It contains transfer records and text messages from Victor threatening her. I wanted to call the police, but there wasn't enough evidence and they said it was difficult to file a case. I took the flash drive, already having a plan in mind. Don't worry, I'll make him pay. Back at the office, I was about to check the contents of the flash drive when my secretary suddenly knocked on the door. President, there's a friend downstairs who claims to be your wife and wants to see you. My heart fluttered, and I opened the monitor to see that it was Victor. He was dressed in a designer suit, and he looked human. Let him come up, I said faintly. Soon after, Victor pushed his way in. He had a cynical smile on his face. Talk? I gestured for him to sit down. What can I do for you? Don't pretend. He crosses his legs. Aren't you checking me out? I advise you not to waste your efforts. Oh! I raised my eyebrows. I raised an eyebrow. So you admit it? Admit what? He sneered. Do you have proof? I didn't say anything, just turned on my computer and played a recording. The very same conversation he had with Sophia in the gym locker room plotting to kill me. Victor's face changed, but quickly returned to normal. What kind of evidence is that? There's certainly more to it than that. I smiled and said, what do you think of Linda's case? This time his face changed completely. You. So you'd better think it over. I stood up and looked at him condescendingly to see if I was going to keep playing or just call it quits. He stood up violently, a fierce light flashing in his eyes. You think you can threaten me with just this? Let me tell you, I'm not afraid at all. Yeah? Yeah. I'll take out my cell phone. Do you want me to send this evidence to the police? I'm sure they'll be very interested. You. He looked at me through clenched teeth. Don't get cocky, it's not over. With that, he slammed the door. I sneered. Surely you won't admit defeat so easily. But that's okay, it's just getting started. When I got home in the evening, Sophia was cooking in the kitchen. When she saw me return, she immediately brought over a cup of hot tea. Honey, are you tired today? I made your favorite braised pork. I took the cup of tea. Not bad, so moody today. She smiled ingratiatingly. I wanted to make it up to you for being cold all this time. A wave of nausea washed over me as I watched her pretend to be gentle. Apparently the Victor thing spooked her enough to come and calm me down. By the way, she asked, pretending not to notice, was there anything special going on at the office today? I reached for my teacup. Nothing. Just a salesman who came in and I blew him off. Oh! A flicker of disappointment in her eyes. That's good. After dinner, she offered to give me a massage. I lay back on the couch and let her knead my shoulders. Hubby, actually I've been wanting to talk to you. Her voice is soft. I've recently met an investment consultant. He said there's a good project. Should I consider putting some money into it? I almost laughed out loud. That's your new plan? Trying to rip me off? How much? I asked casually. It's not much, just about $20 million. $20 million? I'm sitting up. Are you crazy? This program is solid. She hastened to explain that the rate of return is at least 50%. And that's it. I interrupted her. It doesn't need to be brought up again. She tried to say something else, but I choked it back with a look. Before going to bed at night, I opened my cell phone monitoring software and saw her secretly send a message. He does not agree. What to do? Soon, the reply came back. Proceed as planned. Looks like you guys have pressed on. The next morning, I pretended to leave early for something. After the car drove out of the basement, he did notice that he was being followed. The 3 vans had been trailing behind and looked ready to make a move on me. I sneered and kept driving forward. After rounding a corner, I suddenly accelerated and lost them. Meanwhile, I took out my cell phone and dialed a number. Do it. 10 minutes later, I received news. Caught. For people, all gangsters. Already sent to the police station. Good. Step 1 is done. Back at the office, I immediately contacted the police. The evidence gathered earlier came in handy, and the gangsters soon confessed that Victor had instructed them to kidnap me. But that's not enough. I want a clean sweep. At noon, Sophia called with tears in her voice. Honey, are you okay? I heard you were in danger this morning. It's okay. I said lightly that it was just a couple of punks who tried to rob the place and had already been arrested by the police. Great. She's relieved. Do you want me to go to the police station with you to give a statement? No. You stay home and get some rest. Hanging up, I turned on the surveillance. Sure enough, Sophia is talking to Victor. The plan failed, now what? Don't panic, Victor's voice is coming through. We have a backup. You keep an eye on him and see what he's going to do next. How naive. You think I'm going to give you guys a chance to backpedal? Turning on my computer, I began to organize the evidence I had gathered. Linda's case, evidence of illegal fundraising, video of the murder. Everything is ready. Now, it's just a matter of waiting for the right opportunity. That afternoon, Victor suddenly calls a press conference at the gym to announce his promotion to division manager. Looking at his spirited appearance on TV, I couldn't help but sneer. This guy is really good at acting. But this is right up my alley. The more he got carried away, the worse he fell. When I got home in the evening, Sophia was packing. Going on a business trip? I asked casually. She didn't look up. The company had a temporary project to talk about out of town. For how long? About a week. I nodded and didn't ask any more questions. When she left, I immediately had someone follow her. Sure enough, she didn't go to the airport at all, but went straight to Victor's apartment. On the monitor, she threw herself into Victor's arms. Finally, a few days of peace and quiet. "Don't worry, baby." Victor put his arm around her. "Soon we won't have to hide anymore." "Is the plan you're talking about reliable?" Sophia is a little worried in case. "There's no such thing as a what if." Victor is confident. "I know someone who is very professional, so I can guarantee that no one will know about it. When your husband dies and his will says he's leaving all his assets to you, who can say anything?" "That's good," Sophia smiled. "When we get the money, we'll get out of here and go abroad for a better life." I turned off the monitor, already having a plan in mind. "Since you want my life so badly, I'll give you a chance." A week later, Victor's promotion celebration was held as scheduled. It was a huge party with almost the entire fitness community showing up. Victor stood on stage and gave a speech with the air of a successful man. Sophia sits on the stage, beaming. Who would have thought that this pair of manly dogs were plotting a murder? I sat in the corner and watched it all quietly. Suddenly, the doors to the venue were pushed open. A couple of cops walk in and head straight for Victor. "Mr. Victor, please come with us." The stage was in an uproar. Victor's face changed. "What's going on?" "Someone has reported you on suspicion of illegal fundraising and willful injury." The police officer flashed his credentials. "Please cooperate with the investigation." "What?" Victor's in a hurry. "I don't know what you're talking about." "No?" I stand up and step out of the crowd, "So let me help you remember." The big screen suddenly lit up with images. It was Victor who directed the video of the punks kidnapping me and the recording of him and Sophia plotting to kill me. "Is this enough?" I sneer. "Or do you want me to turn over Linda's case too?" Victor's face was instantly pale. Sophia also stood up and looked at me incredulously. "You? How did you?" "Surprise?" I walked up to her. "My dear wife." I can explain." She shuddered. "No need to explain." I interrupted her. "I know all about your good deeds." Saying that, I took out a stack of materials. "This is the divorce agreement. You'd better sign it now. Otherwise, just wait to go to jail with your adulterer." "You." She was shaking with anger. "You knew?" "Knew it from day one." I smiled, "But I have you guys to thank for that. If you guys hadn't tried to hurt me, I wouldn't have known you had so much leverage." Victor suddenly stormed off, trying to escape. But a police officer had already swooped in and pinned him to the ground. "Take it away." I let out a long breath as I watched their backs being escorted away. It was finally over. This revenge I win. Just then, Sophia suddenly turned around and shouted hysterically, "You shall not die. You shall not die." Sophia's curses echoed down the hall. I looked at her contemptuously. "With people like you, you deserve to curse me?" Security had rushed up and restrained her. I turned to the guests present. "Gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting the fun. But since we're all here, we might as well see something more interesting." More evidence began to play on the big screen. Details of how Victor and his cohorts set up the scheme to scam investments and how they threatened their victims. Surveillance video of Linda before she jumped, along with the bloody complaints of several other victims. That's your good manager. A scumbag who got his start in fraud and murder, I say coldly. The venue was in an uproar. Even more shocking was the sudden appearance of Sophia on the screen. She was lying in bed with Victor, talking recklessly about how she was going to plot against me and take over my property. "When he dies, the company and the real estate will be mine." Sophia in the picture smiles demurely. "We can play as much as we want at that time." "Baby's so smart." Victor put his arm around her. "But be careful not to leave evidence." "Don't worry, I'll let him die for nothing." There was dead silence. Everyone couldn't believe that this seemingly gentle and virtuous woman actually had this face in private. I walked over to Sophia. "Now, is there anything else you want to say?" She was paralyzed on the floor. Her tears could not stop flowing. "Please. I know it's wrong." "Late." I sneered. "Haven't you always wanted my company? Now, you can only think about it in prison." The police came forward and handcuffed her. Just then, a sudden commotion came from outside the venue. Linda's son barged in with a group of men. "Victor, Sophia." He rushes over with red eyes. "You pair of beasts, at last I've got you." Turns out Linda's not the only one. Victor and Sophia's other victims are here. Some of them have lost their life savings, some have lost their families, and all of them are gathered here now to demand an explanation. "This lady, you're the one who killed my daughter?" An old lady tremblingly walked up to Sophia, who was still talking about you before she died, saying you were her best bosom friend. Turns out the old lady was the mother of another of Victor's victims. Her daughter was also scammed by Victor and later took out a loan shark at Sophia's urging. In the end, he couldn't pay it back and chose to live lightly. "No, it's not me." Sophia waved her hands in panic. "It was Victor." "Bitch." Victor suddenly breaks away from the police and rushes over to her and chokes her. "How dare you betray me?" The scene was a mess. The police had a hard time separating the two. I stood by and watched the farce. Suddenly she remembered that Sophia had first met Victor at the same gym. She was the same good, gentle, virtuous wife then. Unfortunately, it was all an illusion. "Take it away." The policeman barked an order. As I watched them being escorted away, I suddenly felt a little tired. 5 years of marriage, and that was the end of it. The case soon entered the judicial process. Victor is suspected of fraud, willful injury, and many other charges, and the evidence is overwhelming. Sophia, as an accomplice, is not immune to the law. On the day of the trial, I sat in the gallery. Victor changed his arrogant and domineering appearance and kept begging for forgiveness and admitting his mistakes. Sophia, on the other hand, has been crying and says she was compelled by Victor. "You lied to me." She yells at Victor. "You said you would be responsible for me." Victor laughed. "Responsible? Aren't you willing to do it yourself? If you didn't take the initiative to seduce me and tell me how much money your husband has, can I find you?" "You." Sophia was shaking with anger. "You obviously cheated me out of all that money." "Heh, what are you pretending to be innocent for?" Victor sneered. "I wouldn't have done such a thing if you hadn't gotten the bad idea that you were going to get your husband killed." The two revealed each other in court in a scandalous manner. I watched it all in silence. This is my once beloved wife and her adulterer. Finally, the court pronounced judgment. Victor was sentenced to 15 years in prison for his crimes. Sophia was also sentenced to 10 years as an accomplice. "I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail." Sophia screams hysterically, "Husband, please help me. I know it's wrong." I stood up and walked out of the courtroom without looking back. The sun was shining outside as if nothing had happened. 1 month later, I went to work as usual. After this incident, the company's metal took quite a hit. But luckily I was able to deal with it in time and minimize the damage. "President, there's a call from the prison saying Sophia wants to see you." The secretary knocked on the door and came in to report. I put down the paper in my hand. "Got it." Driving to the prison, through the glass, I saw Sophia. In just 1 month, she had emaciated a lot. "Hubby?" She cried and said, "I really know it's wrong. I've completely severed my relationship with Victor. Can you what?" I sneer. "Appeal for you? Or plead for mercy?" I don't want to stay here for 10 years. She sobbed. "I'm too young to spend my best years here." "Then why did you do what you did?" I stared into her eyes. "Was I not good enough for you?" "It was Victor who compelled me." She bowed her head, and he said you didn't love me enough, that I deserved better. "So you want to kill me?" I said coldly. Sophia shuddered. "No." That's enough." I stood up. "You chose your own path and you're going to pay for it. You can't do this." She suddenly screamed, "I'm your wife. We've been together for 5 years. Ex-wife." I corrected her. "You've signed the divorce papers. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other." When I finished, I turned to leave. Her heartbreaking cries came from behind me, but I didn't turn around. She brought this all on herself. Early the next morning, I got the message. Sophia committed suicide in prison. She slit her wrists with a hidden shard of glass and was found bleeding out. She was still breathing when she was taken to the hospital, but ultimately could not be resuscitated. In her suicide note, she wrote, "I'm sorry, I really know I'm wrong. But it's too late. I can't bear this punishment. Hubby, I owe you. Use this life to pay back." After reading the message, I sat quietly for a long time. 5 years as husband and wife, and that's the end of it. I didn't go to claim her remains. Her family cremated her and buried her in a cemetery on the outskirts of town. I haven't been there since. Life goes on. The company gradually recovered under my management, and the business is thriving. Occasionally, I think of Sophia. I think of her smile when she first met me and the day we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our license. But those are in the past. Now I just want to run my business and live my life. As for love? Nah, doesn't matter.